It's the Princess Philip Challenge Trophy next. We've got Australia against the more local boat, Latymer Upper School on the Buck Station. Melbourne Girls Grammar School, you can see there, preparing themselves, getting themselves poised and ready. Neither cock's happy just yet. You can see there's a bit of a breeze in the flags blowing up at Temple Island. There's quite a lot of wind, isn't it, Imogen?
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's picking up. It was raining this morning and the rain tends to dampen down the wind, but now that rain's stopped, the wind's certainly picking up again. It might be a long race for these eights. Poised at the start. Cox's hand is still up. It's always really tense waiting for the flag here, getting it straight. Might be a bit of a crosswind, actually,
yes,
looking at the adjustments that these coxes are making.
Which is not good news for them. William Priestley has his arm raised in the Latymer Upper School boat, nearest to the camera. And now he's happy. Dance across.
Yeah, waiting for the cox of the Melbourne Girls School.
Sophia Wilson.
Down.
Attention. Go!
And the race is on. Melbourne Girls Grammar School of Australia on the Berkshire Station. Latymer Upper School, Temple Island side of the shop there, to the right-hand side. It was a long wait. The coxes both insisting that everything be perfect before they headed off. It looks to me like the Latymer Upper School have had the slightly sharper start there, but the Melbourne Girls Grammar School hammering out a good race.
Yeah, wow, look at that hip swing that those girls have. There's slightly fewer strokes off the start. I think Latymer Upper went off at a slightly higher rate, but these guys certainly have a lot of length and a lot of hoon through that middle of the stroke. And it's definitely working for them now after the first few strokes.
Yeah, that really jumps out at you, the Australian technique there. But look, they've forged a lead with that. It's worked very effectively.
Wow, that's really impressive. Riding here, Latymer Upper, certainly really focused there. It looks like Eloise Smith in the stroke seat. She's fully zoned in on what they're doing, leading the crew down the track.
I love the contrast in the styles. There's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? And if ever an example of that, you had two really contrasting techniques and styles to get the momentum in the boat early there. And it's definitely worked. It's good power from the Melbourne Girls Grammar School. Yeah,
definitely. I always like to look at the styles of the boats and look at what they're doing well and why I think one boat's winning and one boat's not. Latymer Upper, they look really long, really horizontal in that water. But it just looks like Melbourne Girls have just a bit more aggression through the mid-drive, and it's really driving the 8 on, really accelerating it forwards.
A bit more grunt. Am I allowed to say that? That's what we say in cricket with fast bowlers. It's always grunt.
Yeah, I think you can be a bit grunty, especially in an 8. You've got to really be able to connect. It's such a fast-moving boat that you've got to be quite aggressive to make sure you can connect and get that speed. And wow, I mean, they've nearly got clear water there. It looks like Melbourne Girls Grammar School.
So it's worked well for the Australians. Let's have a look at their blade work. You can analyse that, Imogen.
I mean, that looks pretty good to me, doesn't it? It's really tidy, in and out of the water. And actually, despite the fact that the style is so aggressive within the boat, when I think you look at the blades, it actually looks really smooth, really relaxed. They're just looping into the water, and then you look inside the boat and you just can see the power that they're bringing in those strokes that they're taking perfectly together with the hip swing.
Very focused, very well organised. And they have created a good lead here. Latymer Upper School, the pressure's on them. They've got to offer some sort of response. And these races with these bigger boats takes quite a long time to shift the order, doesn't it? It takes a long time to get past an 8, so they need to do it quickly as they head in front of the enclosures. We can see there in the stroke seat Eloise Smith and William Priestley, the cox of Latymer Upper, and the bow seat Zara Burgess, who rode at Henley last year. A lot of these Latymer Upper School athletes were here last year.
Yeah, it's not their first run down the track, so they know what they were getting themselves in for. And I mean, they're doing their absolute best. I wonder what they discussed as their race plan this morning. I did see Eloise Smith, the stroke girl, just take a quick look around to see if they could still see the Melbourne Girls Grammar School. It can be quite demoralising as a stroke seat when they disappear out of your view. Leaves you wondering, are we able to bring it back? We talk about breaking the elastic, and I feel like the Melbourne Girls Grammar School have really gone out to do that and really been really dominant in the first part of the race so they can control it in the second half.
So it's Melbourne Girls Grammar School dominating this, and William Priestley, who's straight into the eye of Eloise Smythe there in the stroke seat. Smythe has got to set the tempo here and make sure that her boat stay in contention, try and battle away and keep the Australians honest. And here they are, still looking neat, still retaining that technique that we discussed earlier on in the race. No change, just working away, doing what they do.
Yeah, I mean, the Prince Philip Challenge Trophy, I think it's already massively elevated the quality of girls sweep rowing. I mean, just look at how fast these girls are getting down the track. It's absolutely incredible. And all of these girls in the Melbourne Girls Grammar School 8, they've done other sports over in Australia, gymnastics, netball, all sorts of things, as well as doing the rowing. It's really impressive.
Yeah, this event was new for last year, so it's good to see the progress being made. Junior women's 8s. Did you do other sports before you hit rowing, or was it all rowing for you?
I did quite a few different sports when I was growing up. I only came to rowing when I was at university, so these girls all have a head start on me at this point. But I did gymnastics, swimming, diving, a bit of everything really, and really enjoyed it all. I felt like the variety really added to everything, and maybe it has for these girls as well. You know, something like netball is really fast-paced and powerful, and you need quite a lot of dexterity and coordination for that, and we're seeing that in this boat. They're certainly not letting up, even though they've got this big lead over Latymer Upper. Still looks really powerful, really focused. Maybe they just want a clean run down the track, practice their race plan.
Do you still use swimming for your training now, or is it very much staying out the water, on the water?
I think I spend more time on the water than I do in the water these days. I do quite a lot of cycling and running if I get the chance though, which I really enjoy.
So in front of the enclosures come Melbourne Girls Grammar School.
Yeah, you don't come all the way from Australia for nothing to Henley Royal Regatta. They've been really successful in Australia and bringing it over to England, to Henley. I mean, you've got to think that they're setting their sights on the win, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. At this stage of the week, they've all the indicators are that's what they're here for. We did have, at about this time yesterday morning, a boat that come all the way from Australia that lasted 35 seconds. And that's the disappointing side. I just still wonder what potential they could have had. Went wrong early in the week, but this Melbourne boat looking like they've got it all under control, and they'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with come Sunday, you'd have thought, based on this.
Absolutely. Just about coming into stewards at the moment. Doesn't look like they've taken the rate down that much. I think they've kept it quite high, quite powerful, and really pushing this 8 on towards the finish line. Creating
good habits, I suppose, as you mentioned earlier on, Imogen, that if you get into the habit of dropping off the rate too much, you do want to have an outing in the week at some point where you're stretched, don't you, where you're challenged. And they've put their own challenge in here. They've got an unnecessarily big lead. They're quite happy to keep working to the line.
Yeah, still rating 35.
Yeah.
It almost looks to me like they're doing a bit of a sprint.
If you didn't know the context of the race, you would think that this was something on it and someone was chasing them, but they're flying along here in front of stewards. And, well, Melbourne Girls Grammar School choosing to put in a burst at the end. We'll see if they pay for that either tomorrow or Saturday in the next round, but great to see that they were perhaps motivated by the crowd in stewards. And just looking out the commentary box window as they go past us, they're still full of smiles. They obviously had something in reserve. And over the line go Latymer Upper School, who contested that well. But the Prince Philip Challenge Trophy, the Junior Women's 8s, and the boat from Australia, the Melbourne Girls Grammar School, safely through.